review show. As always, I'm your host, Daniel, with my father and co host, Jerry. Say hi, Dad.
Hello.
Today we're doing News of the World, which we actually saw before Wonder Woman, but I know it's coming to streaming and stuff, and we've been meaning to talk about it and just kind of got pushed to the wayside. And I'd also like to point out, as soon as we got done with our hour long bizarre tangent on Wonder Woman, we thought of more stuff to talk about on that one and more questionable things. But that's neither here nor there. Um, from the trailers, it's this movie. It's Tom Hanks rescues. Well, he doesn't rescue. He finds a girl, and they go across who was abducted when she was a child by Native Americans, and they raised her as their own. And they kind of travel across the country to deliver her to her closest kin. Um, it's very much a neo-western kind of, but like other than the acting of the movie and it was well shot and well directed, I didn't think there was just much there. Um,
Yeah,
if you
I
know what
think
I
that's
mean.
true. I think it all depended on Hanks, and both Hanks and the girl give a really good performance.
Yeah, I agree there, but like I said, like he has a like really kind of cool job in which he'd go from town to town and like read the newspaper on it and stuff. But like I didn't find they had like only in one occasion did it really seem to go anywhere with what the town was going through slash happening, and that was the time when he was with the one. I don't know what their job was when that one town where they kind of got abducted and brought into.
Yeah,
Um, because he kind of brought up a rebellion that happened and it set the people off. But all the other times, it never really related to the story as a whole. You did get like the fact Tom Hanks was really good at it, and it was kind of a form of entertainment, which I thought was cool. But it didn't really relate anywhere to his and the girl story, um, or anything like that. So I don't really get the point. I didn't even really get the point of him that being his job.
yeah.
Um,
Well,
I
it
guess
didn't
like
seem to relate to the story at all. I
yeah,
mean,
like
they never put anything. In fact, nothing on the. My problem with the movie, although I got to admit, it was everything about this movie is really good except for the story.
yeah.
The acting is really good. The photography is great.
Mhm.
The music even fits well with everything.
Mhm.
I mean, everything about it is really good, except the story doesn't relate to each other. You know, it's sort of Tom Hanks starts off, this girl comes into his life, which was all well and good and a good part of the story to get be going.
Mhm.
But then, you know, he goes from town to town. The stories in the newspaper don't relate to them.
Mhm.
The actually what happens to him, like when they get kidnapped and everything, doesn't really relate to him and the girl.
Yeah.
And the fact that Tom Hanks' wife had died during the time he was in the army doesn't relate to him and the girl.
Yeah.
I mean, and I thought, like, certainly the fact that Tom Hanks and his wife didn't have children before he went into the army could have had a big relationship to the girl and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like none of it like and it's just a little like somewhat vignettes as they travel across the country with what's going on and stuff. But like there's only really one action scene in it. And I did think they were pretty clever with it because though I don't get why he had to use the money for the shotgun bolts instead of he could have just used rocks.
hmm
Seem like they do the damage, but I don't know. But like that's
money is
something I
metal.
actually really liked
Yeah,
because it already established he only had bird shot on him. He only had a few bullets, and but even then, like, why
he only
would
could carry birdshot because he was it was the South after during Reconstruction,
yeah,
and Southerners weren't allowed to have guns.
yeah, but he wasn't a Southerner. He was from California,
Yeah,
so I don't know why he carried just bird shot.
yeah.
I mean, uh,
Well, he was in the South though.
yeah, but I mean, you'd figure like that actually kind of bothered me because I was like, why doesn't he have anything for hunting?
Yeah,
Uh,
that bothered me. The other thing that bothered me was his price. He charged 10 cents
Hmm.
which would be a reasonable price today
Hmm.
for what he was doing. In fact, it'd be low, but I mean, back then, you could, for 10 cents, you could buy all three meals you day.
Yeah, that's what I thought it was a bit high, his
Remember,
price and stuff, as well as like, uh, but that's always my problem with a lot of these Western things. It seems like they make too much money on things.
yeah.
Uh,
Uh, but I thought the idea was really, as I said, about everything about this movie is really good, really cool, except for the story just sort of just meanders along.
yeah, they nothing, none of this stuff really relates in a good way or anything.
No, and
And
it's a meandering story. There's no
yeah,
beginning, end, or middle or end.
yeah,
There, nobody really is in. Well, the story doesn't make him in danger. He gets in danger because he's traveling.
yeah.
The and It just doesn't all put everything together, which I thought it could.
Hmm.
I thought they had something that it could do. As I said, it certainly was filmed well. The acting is superb,
Hmm.
and but it was just sort of a meandering story
Hmm.
that you didn't care much about what the story was.
No, I think meandering is like the perfect word for it because honestly, throughout most of this movie, I was just kind of bored. And it wasn't like there was some stuff interesting going on and stuff, but it felt like I don't know. It just felt like a lot was missing, and it was very slow. If we like described everything that happened in the movie, it wouldn't sound slow. And a lot of the stuff we're talking about doesn't make it sound like a slow movie, but it's very slow. I think. Um, uh, I don't know. It just didn't seem like enough happened.
Yeah,
And like some of the stuff, as well as like some of the stuff, like all of a sudden these guys want to buy the girl from him.
yeah,
Uh, uh, and they're in a pretty big trade. They're in a probably a pretty big town for the time, weren't they? At that point,
yeah. I would say.
yeah. All of a sudden, like he's abducted by I don't know, were they railroad workers or whatever the one guy was.
Yeah,
And like he wants him to read from their newspaper, and he kind of in his thing reads. But like I said, I thought like what he did was an interesting like job and work, and it kind of like showed how the world was at that point post Civil War getting more and more connected, and how
yeah.
the old West was kind of dying out and stuff.
Hmm.
But I don't know, like honestly have a hard time remembering a lot what happened in this,
Yeah.
just because it seems so like it's like okay and it's not and it's one of those movies that it shouldn't be because there's enough variance in it. Like he picks up the girl,
Yeah.
and then he runs into some guys, and they tell him, "Oh, you have to take her to this post,"
Yeah.
and then he
Yeah.
goes somewhere else, and they say, "Oh, you can have to stay there or take her home," and blah blah
Hmm.
blah. It feels like there was almost too much. Like they didn't need all that. They could have just like had him pick up the girl, bring her to the town, say, "Hey, here's her thing. She's lost," and
Hmm.
then them saying, "Well, you either have to stay here with her or go out and return her."
Yeah.
Compared to like, I mean, you essentially had that like he ran into those people, then he ran into some other people,
Yeah.
and they're all just kind of like, oh yeah, you have to return the girl to her family or whatever. As well as I didn't think we needed him to go back and see the grave of his wife or anything.
Yeah.
He could have just like all this stuff
Well,
like might have worked. Like I think it's based off of a book in that, but it just
he
made the
didn't
movie.
develop any of it.
Yeah, it didn't develop any. It meandered
He,
more. You really didn't get.
he didn't know anything about his wife till he went back to see her. He didn't even know he was married or had been
I
married.
well, you knew. I think it mentioned once or twice, but that's about it.
Well, yeah, but you didn't know his wife had died
Yeah, I don't think it
until
ever fully says that, or like it might.
at one time when he's with the other woman, they talked about his wife.
Yeah.
And I actually at that time thought he was married, and his wife was still alive, and
Mhm.
he
I
was
think you're
doing this
right.
to get away from his wife.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I kind of got that too.
yeah,
I don't like I said, I don't know. Like the one shootout they have is kind of fun because I mean, it does do the thing that like, hey, it's uh, like I said, I don't know too much on it, but they're like, hey, this only has birds shot in it, um, so we're gonna use the money as shrapnel, which
yeah.
essentially is a shotgun. I thought that was kind of clever and
Mhm.
interesting. Uh,
Well, I
but
thought that was a good.
mhm.
Uh, it was a good, as I said, good, well-directed action scene and shootout.
With the exception of that boulder, that was really bad CGI.
Yeah,
I remember that very clearly,
yeah,
uh, just because of how like it was so out of place and it looked. But no, it was an interesting shootout and stuff. But that's the only one in the show,
yeah.
and that probably happens what at the 40-minute mark or something.
I'd say a little bit before that.
Yeah, but it
I
happens.
thought it sort of happened too early in the
Yeah,
show, where he was put in grave danger.
yeah, but he's never in any more danger than at that point. I don't think,
No.
because like even when he's like, actually like he was only in danger really twice. That time and when he's in the town,
Yeah.
and then it's
Mhm.
and then it's not too much. And then I guess he like gets stuck in this, like he breaks his carriage and they're walking or something.
Yeah.
But even that was kind of pointless because that didn't really lead to anywhere.
No.
That was just another like thing that happened with no real like they were essentially just dying of thirst for a bit.
Yeah.
Uh, and if you want to see that, just
Well,
watch that Better Call Saul episode that was out this year.
they're dying of thirst, but then all of a sudden they come across the Indians.
Yeah, they come across and she
But the
gets some
Indians
water.
don't have anything to really.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's what I found really interesting because they talked about how she was picked up by Native Americans and like they killed her family, but she was picked up and she clearly relates with them more, and as more and more she relates with him.
yeah,
And but you still like her when she gets to her family, like oh she's too wild or whatever.
yeah,
Her well, her blood relatives, I should say. But it had nothing else with like other than that one scene of her getting water from them. It had nothing else to do with Native Americans at all.
no,
And I thought that was going to be something like he'd bring her back to the people or something.
yeah, and there's never any real tie why she decided to go with him. You don't see their relationship getting stronger.
Well, you see it a little, but not too much. Not as much
Not,
as you'd expect
not
in
as
one of
much
these.
as you should for the movie where he actually goes back and picks her up at the end.
Yeah,
And yeah,
and like, I mean, there's a lot of like movies that are like this and stuff like Searchers to a certain degree, uh,
yeah,
Logan a few years ago,
hmm,
somewhat. But that one you like really got their relationships. That well, Searchers it's more about him trying to rescue the girl
yeah,
or shoot her. But
yeah. It's a common type of
yeah,
movie
it's fairly common, but like
where I mean, it's a common movie. It's even in a lot of romantic comedies. You
mhm.
know, two people get thrown together,
Yeah,
and I got to take her. You got to take her to a certain place, and they don't get along, but it grows on them after a while.
yeah. It actually kind of feels like how it's just a bunch of vignettes, almost like a road trip comedy,
Yeah,
except it's not really funny.
yeah,
And like I said, like I actually liked the parts a lot where Tom Hanks did read the news
yeah,
because they showed like how he was charismatic and it was this form of entertainment and stuff.
hmm,
And like how the people reacted and stuff, and how he could really tell these stories and was funny during them, and uh,
yeah,
but and how it was the people got their information. But like, I don't think they did that enough. But again, like, a part of this movie was just a lot of this movie is just kind of so slow and dry and just meandered on and on and on. Um, there's really not too much to like uh, say about it without just like going by it part by part.
yeah.
Because Tom Hanks and the girl do well, but they're the only actors that are in it for more than 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Um, like I said, I thought for a while they were going to get like a third person in their company, but then he just goes and leaves and joins the
Yeah.
wagon train.
Yeah.
Uh, but I'm trying to, like, and one of the problems is also I didn't like it didn't show like how much time had passed between him dropping her off at her relatives' house and them picking her up,
Yeah.
or like why they were like, oh, she's wild, blah blah blah. But when by this point we've already seen her, she's not that
Hmm. Yeah.
much of a problem. So I don't know. Like I said, it just didn't like it didn't like I can understand doing a movie like this, but it needs to cohese better, and you need more like character moments, and it can't be as just kind of flat as this is another word I'd use to describe this one.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah, you're right. You know, it goes back to the old Western insertions.
mhm,
You have a very similar story, but this wasn't it.
mhm.
I mean, because that was done by
John Ford, I think.
John Ford. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
But
but I thought the directing was good in the movie.
yeah, Paul
Just the
Greengrass,
story
who
was
did
good.
like Captain Phillips,
Yeah.
some of the Bourne movies and stuff, is usually a really good director and stuff. Like he knows where to shoot the stuff. He knows how to get the people to do the things and stuff. But I think this one, it's like almost all the faults of it lie in the script.
Yeah.
It's just like maybe if this movie was 90 minutes, it would have been a bit better. I don't know exactly how long it was. It felt like it was a lot longer than it was.
Yeah.
Um, but like it just didn't have enough going on almost.
Hmm.
Uh, like I said, I think you're definitely right. The shootout happened too early.
Yes.
Um, because
That would
like
have been one near the end.
yeah.
Yeah. And,
Um, and like I said, I thought they also got out of the other town a bit too easily because it
yeah.
kind of like inspires a riot there
Mhm.
again, which I think is slightly too easily.
Well,
But
I could see him inspiring a riot, but he didn't really escape by expiring
yeah,
the
he
riot.
just kind of then walks away, and then the guy goes to shoot him, and then the other guy who killed his brother shot him.
Yeah.
Um, and why would you work for somebody that killed your brother unless you're like forced to by slave? Why would you let that guy carry a gun?
Yeah.
Uh, I guess it is the old west, but still,
Yeah.
it just like I don't know, um, because the acting's like real good in it. And I'm wondering if some of that, like, I wonder if we'd be a lot harder on this movie if it wasn't so well acted. Because even the girl does a really good job in it.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, it was filmed real well.
yeah, it was filmed well, it was directed well, it was well shot. Everything sounded well.
Hmm. Yeah,
Like I
and
said,
the
the only thing
music
that
was
really looked
good.
bad
Yeah.
in the movie was the CGI boulder.
Yeah.
Um, but I don't know, it just wasn't. It just didn't have enough.
Yeah. It was actually a long movie. It was 2 hours long.
It was 2 hours, yeah. So maybe if it was 90 minutes, it might have been a bit better. Because you can cut out some of the stuff, cut out some of just the wandering, um, some of the stuff like I said, they didn't need to like have him like run into the. He could have just brought the girl to the town, and tried to drop her off. They didn't need to have him run into the people also,
Yeah.
because he then like as soon as he finds her, and grabs her, because her carriage was attacked by bandits or something that she was on. He then shortly after there runs into some cavalrymen or
Hmm.
somebody related to the military and law enforcement, and they tell them they have to go to the town. But you didn't really need that because then, like, oh, you need to wait here 3 months with her or drop her off yourself, and he chooses to drop her off himself, obviously, because, uh, but it's just like a lot of the stuff. It just didn't seem like any of the other like character things like that he did without that didn't seem to go anywhere really. Like you said, he has the one woman that he sleeps with, and that doesn't really go anywhere.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well, she just sort of is
yeah,
there.
yeah, she's just sort
You
of
know,
there.
it seems like he has a relationship with her before.
Hmm.
She has a relationship before, and the woman was just with him. She didn't have any effect on the child, even though she knew the kid's language.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, she did, and he didn't. Cause I forget she
yeah,
spoke some Native American. She didn't speak English for most of it.
yeah,
Um, and also like he then like has his other friend there that he gets the gun from, and
yeah,
all that stuff, and like you could have cut that and like him just have a gun.
yeah,
Um, like I don't know why he was so like maybe the war scarred him or something, but why was he like like I said, this is like again this is the Reconstruction South. You'd
yeah.
be carrying a gun on you.
Hmm.
Um, and he clearly knows how to shoot and stuff.
Yeah,
Uh, and like his shotgun only having like him only having bird shot, or like when he grabbed his shotgun, it only had bird shot in it, or something. Like I said, it wouldn't have changed that scene any because he ran out of ammo with his one gun,
yeah,
and then he only had bird shot in his shotgun.
yeah,
He could have just grabbed the wrong bullet box or something.
yeah. Hmm.
Uh, but it's just kind of like I wouldn't say I think the movie is kind of just short of being a complete mess, almost.
Yeah,
I don't know. Do you feel that way, or
yeah.
like I don't think
Uh,
I felt that way until we started to talk about it, but now I'm like, man, a lot of this stuff just kind of came out of nowhere,
yeah. It
and
just
like,
didn't fit together.
yeah, it feels like it has a lot of piece. It has a lot of pieces to it, and they're not bad pieces actually, but it feels like it's both missing pieces and the pieces don't fit together.
Yeah.
It feels like almost this should be like a 3.5 hour movie,
Hmm.
and instead it's 2 hours, or this should have been a 90-minute movie that's instead 2 hours.
Yeah.
Um, like I said, it's not like I mean, what the what am I trying to say? Like, I don't know. Watch 3:10 to Yuma. It's a very similar story.
Yeah.
Watch Searchers. Watch Logan. Uh, they're all kind of well, Searchers, but 3:10 to Yuma and Logan are very modern Western movies.
Hmm.
Obviously, Logan's not set in that time period, but it's still a Western
Yeah.
for what it is. Um, I don't know. There's just like a lot of movies that are. I, I I don't know if there's just so many movies that are like this that are so much better than it, or
Hmm.
this one like. I'm actually probably coming down on it a lot harder than I would if we didn't talk about it, because I'm like, man, there's a lot of stuff in this movie that could really lead somewhere.
Yeah.
Like
Well,
it's
it's a great idea for a concept.
yeah, like like just having the guy going and reading the news and like the changing times and stuff.
Hmm.
Most of the time they do that. It more kind of glorifies the old west than the modern era. But like the modern era coming in is actually a good thing in this one. I think
Yeah.
it kind of portrays it as like, but mhm, like I said, I don't know. Like even when him like reading the news, he only really does it once or twice in the movie, and one time's at the ending, and that's one of the more entertaining parts of the movie
Yeah.
because he's at the end of it. He's telling them a joke essentially and a funny, and you totally understand why people would pay for this to be their entertainment.
Yeah.
Um, and it's reasonable. Uh, and it kind of shows his relationship with the girl and stuff, but like I don't know. I'm wondering now if this is like a thousand some page book, and they just took like little snippets of it and stuff. But I don't know. I actually came into thinking this I was gonna give this more of like a mediocre review, like, but now I'm like I think I really came down quite hard on it, and I think it should have been because I don't think it's a very good movie at all. Um, well, I shouldn't say that. I don't think. I think the writing in this movie is what failed it,
You know, writing in
big
the
time.
movie does. Otherwise, it was done well.
Yeah, everything else was done well. Uh, and I don't even think a lot of the dialogue and stuff is that poorly written. I just don't think it goes anywhere.
Yeah,
It kind of just
it doesn't fit together.
it doesn't fit. It very much does not fit together. It doesn't have any like particular scenes or in it that you usually like things. I'm like, well, it doesn't work is because some scene ruined the whole movie, but it doesn't
Yeah,
have any of that. It just overall like when you take the movie as a whole, it doesn't fit together at all. Um, None of the little sections fit together. None of them really fit together to tell an overall story. Um, it doesn't really even seem to have that much of a theme, other than like kind of a theme of like family, I guess.
yeah,
But even then, you don't see too much of the girl and him bonding.
yeah. That's a big problem.
Yeah,
She go, you know, he ends up with her in the end, but there's no real bonding there.
yeah. Honestly, like, I kind of want to say I'd almost say I'm gonna watch Wonder Woman again rather than this. Not because I think Wonder Woman's a worse movie, but I feel like I'd notice more crazy things and more stupid things in it if I watched it again. And this one, I just think I'd be bored to tears with. Uh, I don't know. Though I will say this: they found a young actress that I'm sure will be a big up and comer soon because she
Yeah,
does a really good job.
yes.
Even like even with how literal she speaks in it, you can read her face and all of them. But I don't know. I'm actually surprised we went this long on this movie now.
Yes.
Do you have anything else to say?
No, I don't believe so.
Okay. Yeah, I can't recommend this one. There's just too much that's too similar, and there's too much that's just so much more interesting and so much better done. Go watch like 310 to Yuma,
Yeah.
Searchers, Shane, Logan. I'm sure another 20 movies that I could think of if I had the time.
Mhm.
Uh, I guess that's all for this one.
Yeah.
Again, if you're watching on YouTube, remember to like and subscribe. If you're watching this on Twitch, remember to follow and subscribe. Thank you all, and have a good whatever day this will be up. Bye.
Wow.